Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be looking at AQA Alevel Psychology 2020 Paper 1 Exemplar Answers for Psychopathology, which you need to know for AQA Alevel Psychology. I hope you enjoy this video and find it helpful. Let's get started. Please note that these answers have been produced with knowledge of the mark scheme but have not been approved by the mark scheme themselves. There are 3 assessment objectives, AOs, in psychology. In this video they are color-coded. AO1 Knowledge, purple. AO2 Application, blue. AO3 Evaluation, red and green. Question 1. Briefly evaluate the deviation from the ideal mental health definition of abnormality. 4 marks. A strength of deviating from ideal mental health as abnormality is its positive, holistic approach to diagnosis. It focuses on the entire person's well-being, considering emotional, psychological, and social factors, rather than just the absence of mental illness. This approach encourages individuals to strive for their best selves, rather than fitting into a normal category. For instance, addressing overall deviation from mental health might be more effective than focusing on specific symptoms. This definition can reduce stigma by recognizing mental health complexity and contributing factors. It leads to tailored treatment and a supportive environment for those with mental health challenges. This is a strength because it suggests that mental health should be viewed through a lens of positivity and growth, rather than simply as the absence of illness. By focusing on the ideal aspects of mental well-being, it encourages individuals to pursue self-actualization and overall fulfillment. This approach recognizes that everyone has unique experiences and needs, allowing for more personalized and effective treatment strategies. Furthermore, it promotes a more compassionate understanding of mental health, helping to destigmatize those who may be struggling and fostering a supportive environment for recovery and growth. A limitation of deviation from ideal mental health as a definition of abnormality is that the criteria can be seen as too demanding and unrealistic for most individuals to achieve. The standards set for what constitutes ideal mental health often include aspects like self-actualization, personal growth, and emotional well-being, which can create an unattainable benchmark for many people. For instance, the expectation to maintain a high level of self-esteem and to cope effectively with stressors may not be feasible for those struggling with mental health challenges, such as anxiety or depression. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy and failure among individuals who do not meet these ideal standards, potentially exacerbating their mental health issues rather than alleviating them. Additionally, the rigid criteria may overlook the fact that mental health is a spectrum, and many individuals may function well in their daily lives despite not meeting all aspects of the ideal mental health model. This is a limitation because it suggests that individuals must conform to an unrealistic standard of mental health, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy. When the criteria for ideal mental health are set so high, it fails to recognize the complexity and variability of mental health experiences, making it difficult for many to feel accepted or validated in their struggles. This can ultimately hinder their willingness to seek support and exacerbate their mental health issues. Question 2. Outline 2 cognitive characteristics of obsessive-compulsive disorder. 4 marks. 1 cognitive characteristics of OCD is obsessions thoughts, which are internal persistent recurring, unwanted and intrusive thoughts or beliefs, catastrophic thinking. A second cognitive characteristics of OCD is hypervigilance and selective attention, with sufferers having an increased awareness of source of obsession in new situations. Max has a phobia of the sea. On a family holiday as a child, he was carried away by the tide and had to be rescued by a lifeguard. Now he has a family of his own, Max refuses to go on beach holidays. Question 3. Discuss the 2-process model of phobias. Refer to Max's phobia of the sea in your answer. 16 marks. Behavioral explanations, behaviorism, analyze phobias based on external observations of environmental stimuli and behavioral responses, rather than e.g. the underlying thought processes. One behaviorist explanation of phobias is the two-process model. This model was proposed by Hobart Mowrer, 1960, and emphasizes the role of learning in phobias. It suggests that phobias are learnt through classical conditioning, learning through association first demonstrated by Ivan Pavlov and maintained through operant conditioning, learning through consequences, demonstrated by Skinner. An anxiety-provoking unconditioned stimulus, UCS, results in an unconditioned fear response, UCR, as humans naturally fear pain. A UCS is associated with a neutral stimulus, NS, to create a conditioned stimulus, CS, through threatening and negative experiences, which produced a conditioned response, CR, of fear. These phobias are sometimes generalized to similar objects or situations. This conditioned fear response is maintained through operant conditioning, through negative reinforcement, where a person avoids the feared object or situation and as a result is rewarded with a desirable reduction in unpleasant feelings, e.g. anxiety, which increases the likelihood of this avoid behavior being repeated. Max's phobia has developed through classical conditioning. He has formed an association between the neutral stimulus, C, and the fearful event, being carried away by the tide. This learnt conditioned response is triggered every time Max goes near the sea. The phobias has generalized to all beach holidays. The phobia of the sea is maintained through operant conditioning, through negative reinforcement with the relief Max feels when he avoids the beach. A strength of the two-process model as a behaviorist explanation of phobias is there is empirical research to support the idea that classical conditioning leads to the development of phobias. Watson and Rayner, 1920, used classical conditioning to create a phobia in an infant called Little Albert. Albert was given a white rat to play with. At first he did not demonstrate a fear response towards the rat. The researchers then repetitively made loud noises which frightened Little Albert when he was playing with the rat. Little Albert then demonstrated fear behaviors, e.g. crawling away, whimpering, when presented with the rat. This fear was then generalized to similar animals and objects. Little Albert had developed a phobia of white rats because he was conditioned to associate the white rat with a loud noise, e.g. banging. This is a strength because it suggests that phobias can be understood and treated through behavioral approaches, particularly by addressing the learned associations formed through classical conditioning. A limitation of the two-process model as a behaviorist explanation of phobias is that not all individuals who experience a stressful event go on to develop a phobia. For example, a person who gets bitten by a dog will not always develop a phobia of dogs. This inconsistency raises questions about the model's ability to account for individual differences in responses to fear-inducing situations. Factors such as personality traits, past experiences, and coping mechanisms can influence how a person reacts to stress. Moreover, the model does not consider the role of cognitive processes in the development of phobias. Some individuals may have a higher tendency to catastrophize or overgeneralize from a single negative experience, which could lead to the development of a phobia, while others may be more resilient and able to process the event without developing an irrational fear. This is a limitation because it suggests that the two-process model does not adequately explain the full range of factors that can lead to the development of phobias. A limitation of the two-process model as a behaviorist explanation of phobias is that there is research to support an alternative biological explanation of phobias. Seligman, 1970, proposed that certain phobias can be explained through biological preparedness, the idea that humans and other animals are evolutionarily predisposed to have innate tendencies to fear certain stimuli that pose a threat to survival. For example, many people have an innate fear of snakes, spiders, or heights, which may be linked to the dangers these creatures posed to ancestors. Ancestors, who avoided these stimuli, were more likely to survive and live long enough to pass on their genes and reproduce. The idea of biological preparedness is further supported by Ost and Hugdahl, 1981, who claims that nearly half of all people with phobias have never had an anxious experience with the object of their fear, and some have had no experience at all. For example, some snake phobics have never encountered a snake. This is a limitation because it suggests that the two-process model may not account for all the factors involved in the development of phobias. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.